In the first section, I described some of the challenges associated with identifying colors and talked about some of the historical reasons for those challenges. Well, in today's world, we use color for interior architecture, for product development, for web design, and we always need this association with color. So perhaps this isn't your field of expertise. You might be a project manager, you might be a psychologist, a sociologist, and you haven't had the opportunity to study color. Well, this is your chance to do that, and so let's continue on with your studies. As humans began to express themselves in artistic form, they created pigments to create art. Pigments are defined as substances that give color to other materials. Early cave painters used pigments derived from rock, soils, and plants. Modern pigments can be added to many physical substances, including paint, colored pencils, colored chalks, rubber, plastics, fabrics, and in fact anything that reflects various wavelengths of light. We've known for hundreds of years that there are three pigment colors that can't be broken down into other colors. Those are red, blue, and yellow. We call these the primary colors. We'll represent those three colors in this circle. By adding two adjacent colors together, we get secondary colors. Add red and yellow and you get orange. Add red and blue and you get violet. Blue and yellow added together create green. By representing these colors in a circle, we're beginning to develop a color wheel based on a pigment's hue. This color wheel has evolved across time, but it's important to remember that if you see a color wheel like this one, it's based on pigment color as opposed to digital color. Pigment color is known as a subtractive color system. Artists learned that if you subtract the impurities of any pigment, the colors of red, yellow, and blue added together result in black pigment. Now this goes against common sense, so let's look at the science behind it. As you probably know, color itself is the result of our brains perceiving differences in the wavelengths of light entering our eyes. Every object, or every pigment in case of a painted object, has a physical property that makes it absorb or reflect light waves. That physical property is what makes an object appear a particular color. As light bounces off of objects in our environment, some wavelengths are reflected from the objects and other wavelengths are absorbed by those objects. It's the wavelength of a reflected light that we perceive as color. The important thing to remember is that colors are visible because of light reflecting off of objects. Let's pretend that you're standing in sunlight, which includes all of the wavelengths of visible light. Think about what wavelengths of light are either reflecting from or being absorbed by the light. In the example of the red sphere, only the red wavelengths of light are being reflected to your eyes. The remaining light, that is, all the colors except red, are being absorbed by the red sphere. If this ball were yellow, only the yellow spectrum of light would hit your eye. All other wavelengths are being absorbed by that sphere. Or with a blue ball, the blue spectrum of light would hit your eye. All other wavelengths are being absorbed by that sphere. If you have a white ball, then red, yellow, and blue, plus all the secondary and all the tertiary colors are being reflected. If the ball is pure white, there are no wavelengths of light being absorbed. But if the ball is a neutral gray, some or most of the wavelengths are being absorbed. The darker the neutral color, the more wavelengths are being absorbed. Well, how do you get to black color? A black pigment is one that absorbs all of the wavelengths of light. Because everything is absorbed, there is no light left over to reflect back to your eye. So black is the ultimate collector of light waves. To get to black pigment, you don't need to add every single color of the rainbow. You only need to blend red, yellow, and blue, the three primary colors from which all other pigment colors can be mixed. With a combination of pure red, pure yellow, and pure blue pigments, there are no wavelengths left over to reflect back to your eyes. To get the secondary colors, mixing of two of the primaries yields two colors of wavelengths reflecting back to your eyes. Look at these combinations and I think you'll find they make sense. So with the pigment-based subtractive color system, you begin with all possible visible wavelengths. One by one, you subtract the visible wavelengths by adding the primary pigments together. Your object becomes black because there is no reflected light that isn't immediately absorbed by one of the other colors. The net effect is a very dark or black pigment. That's why the pigment-based system is considered a subtractive color system. Do digital colors behave like pigment colors? No, they don't. And in fact, they're built completely differently. In the next section, we'll look at how digital colors differ from pigment colors.